In this nation, how we educate our children can at times be abysmal with the best of the most naive intentions. Far too often, the ones who suffer most are those who can afford it least. Our children of color and our children of low wealth. These are children who do not have access at home to resources that would enrich their lives and help to develop broad knowledge schema and a curiosity about the world that drives innovation. Why? You have to consider the mismatch in the demographics between our teachers and our children. And many teachers see children of color and low wealth deserving of charity based on the children's lived experiences. A lived experience that is vastly different from their own. And so often they cloak that charity in the name of equity. It sounds good. It makes those educators and some politicians, to be clear, feel good. So let's start with California, where they're eliminating accelerated mathematics in the name of equity. One justification, having children show their work to prove an answer was correct, made students feel bad. And another, that there was no such thing as naturally gifted. That's not equity. The idea that children of color cannot be inherently gifted is racist. Maybe they never learned about Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, the black female human computers who calculated by hand the equations that allowed white men to travel to space and return home. It's not taught in our history classes, of course not, because the status quo, whether left or right-leaning, really doesn't want our children of color to learn of the academic successes and contributions of their ancestors to American excellence. So then there's Oregon, where the governor has ended the requirement that high school graduates demonstrate literacy and numeracy at a high school level. They called it equitable graduation standards. And they justified the so-called equity as a benefit to, and I quote, Oregon's Black, Latino, Latina, Latinx, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, tribal, and students of color. It seems like the only color they left out was white. Again, not equity. Neither California's nor Oregon's acts reflect providing an education without bias against or favoritism for children of color. That would be equity. What they have done is just the opposite. They have created a clear bias against children of color. These acts are cleverly designed to continue the culture of excusism in our schools that doom learners of color to low achievement. They allow for the continuation of withholding scientifically based instructional methods in literacy and mathematics. It allows too many teachers to teach for their own enjoyment, rather than to prepare every single child to read, write, think, and calculate at or above grade level. It promotes a provision gap, a gap that is fueled by implicit bias and fosters the resulting achievement gap. Now, to be clear, California and Oregon's approaches to equity are no better than Texas and Florida's bans on discussing race and racism. They all achieve the same purpose. They maintain a society that continues to relegate people of color to the ranks of the un- and undereducated, the un- and underemployed, to an over-reliance on public assistance, and filling their prisons so that they benefit from nouveau slave labor. These acts of charity in the name of equity are simply the continuation of a long history of systemic racism, and we need to call it what it is.